Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki Racing Team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Joanne Zarco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Linfoot from Honda Racing, British Superbike Team, and this is Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to Motorsport Radio. Well, we have a very special interview today for you. We are going to be chatting right now to the two-time Gravity Bike Champion of Great Britain. Please welcome Zack Leader. Hello, Zack.
Hello, how are we doing?
I'm fantastically well. Thank you very much for asking. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, I can't imagine there will be any people thinking, who is Zack Leader? Because we all know who Zack Leader is, right? And what gravity racing is, of course. But for those people who don't know, Zack, just tell us what gravity racing is.
So gravity racing is basically anything racing downhill and using just sort of gravity in form of movement, really. So you can get, obviously, the gravity bikes that I race. You can get your Soapboxes, which are a bit more sort of well heard of. But you can get like the gravity sidecars and obviously your skateboard sort of class as well. So your luges, your stand-up, things like that. But basically, a gravity bike is just it's used on an old BMX frame, I suppose, if you like. That's the common sort of frames that are used.
Okay.
And they're specifically made just to race down hills fast. That's really all it is. Obviously, you've got your brakes and things like that.
Oh, I was going to ask, yeah, because it's not quite as mad and crazy as actual luge, is it? Although you can still go off and have crashes.
Yeah, you can still hurt yourself doing it. There's there's still the no room for error sort of factor into it. But obviously, it's not as fast as maybe your sort of your superbike racing, or nowhere really near. But you can still get up to, reasonably high speeds. You can get up to, this I've probably been is getting touching just under sort of 60 mile an hour. But the world record guys are doing maybe about 80 mile an hour, which is still, you don't want to come off at that speed. So
no, exactly. I mean, it's like you say, it certainly looks pretty hair raising, especially when you're a bit low down like that, free falling. Albeit, yes, with brakes, but you can, of course, still have accidents. It is pretty, I would imagine, it's pretty scary watching the footage of it, to be honest. And so you are the two-time British champion in the junior class.
Yes, I've been racing gravity bikes since I was 13, I believe, in 2012, and then started racing in the national championships in 2016, So with the British Gravity Bike Championship, you can run in the overall class, which is sort of what you'd maybe call your senior class or whatever. And then alongside, you can run in the juniors as well. So if you're under the certain age, you can race in the junior class as well, and that's to recognise obviously the younger riders within the sport, and hopefully get them a bit of publicity as well, and get them recognised. So I've been racing in that class for 2 years. I'm now a bit obviously too old to race in them now. I've just turned 19. So the cut-off is 18. But I won that 2 years in a row. So fully up to the class with the big boys now.
Well, that's good. And you'll be doing that again in this season as well, 2018. You'll be going for a third straight title, albeit in the main class now.
Yeah, so I mean, for the past 2 years, I've been runner-up in the main class, so I've been sort of just one off that big title, and that's what I've been focusing on really. I mean, the junior titles have just sort of come with that. My main focus has been on that big British Gravity Bike title. I mean, I can say I'm a British Gravity Bike sort of champion, but it's only at junior level. It's half one, if that makes sense. So I want that. Yeah, but I mean, I want that big title.
Yeah.
It's the gravity bike equivalent of being the British Superbike champion. So, that's the big title I want. I've just signed for the biggest team in the world as well. They're an Australian-based team called Gravity Bike HQ, and I can't really believe it. To join those guys is just brilliant. So everything's fallen into place for 2018 to be the best season yet.
It certainly sounds like you have everything going for you anyway, moving up into the main class anyway. We'll get back to talking about you being another possible champ in gravity bikes and indeed gravity itself a bit later. But it's not the only reason why you're on Motorsport Radio right now, Zack. You've been in the news recently, and you have a bit of an announcement, which in especially motorsport paddocks up and down the land, and especially in a bike racing paddock, is you've made an announcement which is incredibly rare. Tell us more.
So the way I wanted to start off 2018 was sort of I wanted to make this sort of announcement for about 6 months now, and I on New Year's Day I came out as gay, which was a massive thing for not just for me, but I suppose the sport as well, because it's not that I'm aware of. There's not really any bike racers who are openly out and out sort of announced as gay, or even in sort of the LGBT spectrum, if you like. So I mean, I've known since I was like between the age of 8 and 11. I can't be bang on sort of a specific number, but between that sort of age, that's sort of when I knew.
Yeah. And
then it's just sort of been growing up, learning to accept it, and then what comes with it. And now I've reached the point where I'd say I'm ready to sort of for everyone to know. I mean, my close friends and family knew up until this point, so there was a few people that it wasn't news to at all. But a lot of people obviously didn't know. Some didn't have any idea. Some sort of had an inkling, and some were probably placing bets, I imagine. But yeah, so that's how I wanted to start this year. I just wanted to, cards on the table. And just, there's no more hiding or fanning about what I am and what I'm not.
Now, a lot of people, understandably, they might think back to, I think, early last year in 2017 when the former World Endurance driver Danny Watts came out as gay, having had recently retired. And a lot of people, when he said what he said, well, that's not news. I don't really care. It's, I'm not really bothered. This is just motorsport. They potentially have a point when they say that, because obviously it being gay or LGBT or anything doesn't affect your racing in any way. In that way, really, it's got nothing. The two have nothing to do with each other. But it is significant, I think, and maybe you'll agree, because anyone who's the first of something to come out and do something is significant, because I don't know if you know, and other people listening and watching this might have also picked up on the fact that until now, Zack, there are no openly gay male racing drivers or riders anywhere in world or British at a high level anywhere, or aiming to get to a high level anywhere in world motorsport, is there?
That I'm aware of, there aren't any.
I certainly don't know any.
I've not gone into extensive research on it or anything like that. It's just from what you sort of hear and what you see and the sort of paddocks you spend time in. But I mean, I'm sure there are people out there, but it's whether it's racers like me are comfortable to sort of come out and just openly say it. Not that I'm saying that the paddocks aren't a welcoming place, because I've learned over the past couple of days they really are. But there's the conception that motorsport, or certainly because I don't know too much about the four-wheel side of it, but I mean certainly from the two-wheel side of it, it's a very very macho, masculine sort of sport. And so for someone to obviously, I mean, you look at me, I'm not the stereotypical sort of gay bloke, I suppose. But I mean, I imagine for some people it's quite hard to think of that sort of person in this sort of sport, if you get what I'm sort of trying to say. So people, it might be a bit of a weird concept, whereas hopefully for most people it's this doesn't it shouldn't really affect anything. The only thing that should really say something about someone is their skill, their talent, and obviously what makes the difference when the clock stops. And
why come out now in 2018? I mean, I read a newspaper article just after you'd announced this, I think in your local paper in Lincoln, saying something along the lines of, or words to the effect of, that you wanted to maybe keep it a secret up until now, perhaps because you didn't want it to potentially, even though you don't have evidence to support it, potentially affect any racing career or any sponsor deals and stuff like that. What has the reaction been like so far from the motorsport community that you've had?
It's been there's no real words to describe to us. It's just been brilliant. I mean, brilliant is a massive understatement. People have been just so supportive and so accepting of it. I've had, ridiculous amounts of messages and phone calls and texts and things like that of people just saying, massive respect for you. And those messages like that, and it's those that sort of hit me quite, wow, okay.
You mean from potentially people who you maybe wouldn't have expected, or you thought in your mind would have had a different reaction to the one that they actually did have?
I mean, it's not that I was sort of specifically thinking, well, they're going to have, that reaction, or that sort of person's going to have that reaction. It was as a general. I wasn't sure how, entire paddocks would accept the news. I mean, in my head, I'd sort of get wrapped around that if, maybe a team manager or a sponsor or something didn't necessarily agree with that sort of ideology, I suppose, then it could affect, potentially my future within racing. So obviously, if sponsors don't like it, then they won't sponsor me, and then, I'll maybe struggle for funds, or if team managers don't like it, then I'll struggle for rides and things like that. So it was more that side of things that was concerning me. It wasn't necessarily fellow riders in that sort of way.
So from that, I mean, I believe anyway, from reading other people who have come out since they've retired, unfortunately, that is also the reason why they kept, I suppose, living a lie, living under being someone else, being effectively like a false person. What's changed with you? Any specific thing in particular, or did you just think, well, enough's enough, I'm now comfortable and this is me, sort of thing?
I mean, I've been comfortable with it for a lot of years now, but it was just more of the learning not to give a damn. I think that's the main thing. At the end of the day, I am who I am. I'm not, I'm not changing for that. I'm not changing whether, people disagree with it or don't like it. And it makes me different, and it just makes me, at the end of the day, it makes me who I am. So, and it's just more being ready. So I think, if I was going to say just to someone who was maybe thinking about it, or maybe even to, past me, I'd sort of say, just, if you're going to do it, be ready for someone, be ready for the worst case scenario, that someone says something or no one accepts it. And if you're ready for that, then you're ready for whatever comes at you once you say, I'm gay or I'm bi or whatever.
It does sound like a weird thing to comprehend, I'm sure, for a lot of people, because thoughts like that they would, I mean, almost everybody would probably never have to think along those lines, have that fear, or to know what that fear is like, where you've got something, as you've described, almost in many cases, I'm not saying this was in your case, but sort of kind of weighing you down a bit, really, to the point where, I don't know, maybe you might have felt the need to retire from motorsport, which would have been a shame, like a lot of people have probably done. But I think you're very brave, Zack, in coming out at your age while you're still racing and aiming to get to the top of BSB in particular.
Yeah, I mean, from what we've said, there's no current, or that we're aware of, no current openly gay races or anything. So as far as I'm aware, that leaves a big hole in the history books. In terms of there's never been a gay BSB champion, or there's never been an openly gay British gravity bike champion, or anything like that. So for me to be that first, or to be able to write history and make history in that sort of way, I think leaves a legacy in a way, and it leaves the door open for others, if that makes sense. So then they can be, the first one since, if that makes sense.
It certainly does. I do know what you mean. Yes, and sometimes maybe this is the moment where there might be a few more people deciding to come out as bi or as LGBT, whatever they're comfortable with. It might just take something, might just be the first person to do it, and then everybody thinks, well, okay, yeah, it didn't affect their career, so what am I worried about, basically? And sometimes, and this is why, as I was saying earlier, I think it is news, not necessarily the fact that you are gay, but because you're the first person to do it and to want to be a BSB champion, and you could well do it one day. Who knows? I mean, you're only young. How old are you? About 18, 19?
I've just turned 19.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that certainly could be a thing. And maybe when you do become BSB champion, for everybody else who, all the other LGBT racers who obviously do exist, who do come out in a good way, I hope it's just not news, because we won't care about it, because it'll just not even be an issue. And maybe it was never that big an issue anyway. And maybe for a lot of people, they were just building it up in their own minds. We'll never know. The only way to find out, I suppose, is to come out and see. And that's exactly what you've done. So I think you're extremely brave, Zack, to do that. And best of luck to you. So your course is towards BSB and such. And you've had a lot of support as well from inside the BSB paddock as well, including Mr. James Ellison as well.
Yeah, so James has been brilliant about it. I knew he would be. But, just to be able to sort of read, the message he sent me or things like that is really reassuring. James has been my sort of my mentor, and he's been my racing hero since I was, really young, basically. Since I first got into racing, I first watching racing, it was James Ellison who I was supporting. And when I started racing, or the second season I was racing, James started to sponsor me and started to mentor me. And he's been sort of doing that ever since. And in previous seasons, he's been my title sponsor as well. So I've been racing for my own team, Gearbolt Racing, and then with him, title sponsor, it's been Ellison Gearbolt Racing. So he's always sort of been, mentoring me, giving me advice, doing whatever. And he's been a massive support. He's been a rock, basically. And I certainly wouldn't be where I am now without him. Even from, an inspirational sort of point of view and a mentor point of view as well. I've learned so much from James, and he's been incredible. He's
I suppose, from that point of view, he'd be a pretty decent mentor to have, I suppose. To have James Ellison be a supporter, a backer, and a mentor to you, and teacher and everything. It's sounds like you're on the right track there. Bike pun. So going back to bikes, in particular, what you've been racing and what you will be racing in 2018. I have to admit, Zack, I didn't really know anything about gravity bike racing before we got talking. I apologise to all the gravity bike racing enthusiasts. I'm sure there are millions of them. But it really does sound like a very interesting concept. What's your role in the championship? Are you just a racer / champion? I mean, I know you're sort of involved in the online side of things as well for the championship, aren't you?
Yeah, so I studied PR at university, so I sort of do the PR for or help do the PR for the series as well. I did previously organised, I helped sort of revamp it, and because there was a number of years where we went without one, there wasn't a national series, because it's still it's not massive. It's not as big as sort of anywhere near as big as like BSB or anything like that. I'd say it's sort of coming up towards maybe club level, if that makes sense. But I mean, well, in terms of size, the riders in it are ridiculously talented. They're really, something else. I mean, if you look at, my close friend and rival is Ian Round. He's won it at least 4 or 5 times now. He's basically the Shaky Byrne of of British gravity bikes.
Oh wow!
And you've got to put in something special to be in. So to have talent like that in such a small sort of series in a small sport it sets it up for bigger and better things in the future. But yeah, like you say, not a lot of people will have heard of it because it's still sort of quite minor. It is growing slowly but surely.
Is it kind of like the opposite of a hill climb, but without an engine?
Yeah, basically. So you're racing down. We do race downhill climbs. So we race down Harewood and Gurston, which I'm sure many people have heard of. And yeah, we do race down the hill climbs. We race down public closed roads as well. So it's sort of a mix of maybe the track racing and the road racing, I suppose, in a way. But yeah, it can be dangerous. I mean, there's been big crashes since I've been racing. A lot of them maybe with me, but
you're pushing the limits. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm every time I get on that bike, I try to push its limits and push my limits and try to go as fast as I possibly can. It's at the minute I have a win it or bin it sort of attitude. Maybe I need to sort of rein that back in a little bit and be a bit more sort of tactical, which I'm starting to be a bit now. I'm starting to sort of think, okay, maybe if I don't push it on this one, I can push it on the next one, or things like that. And I'm still sort of going through that learning process of, okay, rein it back in on this one, go for it on the next one, sort of thing. But there is the thing with because you haven't got an engine, it's quite the way I describe it is it's a pure sport. So you've got to get your lines. If you're trying to set up a really fast run, you've got to get your lines bang on. It's got to be bang on. Even the pressure in your tyres and the amount of grip on them has got to be bang on. The temperature's got to be bang on. Even body position, that's got to be pretty spot on. To get the ideal and the fast runs, you've got to have everything just so spot on and so fine. And the process of getting it to that point. So throughout the day, obviously, you've got to learn different lines. Say if you're coming from it from a rookie perspective and you've never been on, say, Gurston, for example, I mean, you've got to get your lines just bang on. Your braking's got to be so, absolutely. There's such a fine margin for everything.
And I suppose there's a lot of momentum as well that if you mess up at the start of the hill, for example, that's going to cost you further and further down. Because I watch a lot of winter sports like skeleton and luge and stuff, and there's little things, little tiny little fractional mistakes that if you make at the start of the lap, the whole thing's almost blown. You have to be like a super. You have to do like a super run to claw that time back, don't you?
Yeah. If you make one mistake at the start, it just multiplies all the way down. So, I mean, if you make one mistake, you may as well that's that run gone. You try again on the next one, because it's not all the runs put together. It's just that one run that you need. I mean, if we do head-to-head racing, obviously it's kind of like it's the same as watching any other form of racing, really. If you bugger up, then I suppose you can try and claw it back, but obviously you haven't got a throttle just to go like that and off you go again. So you can't really make mistakes if you want to get it right. Obviously, you can see on some of the videos, a lot of these are head-to-head, and I much prefer head-to-head. But there's an element of the time trial that I just find brilliant as well, because it's just you and the bike, and if you make a mistake, that's your fault. No one else put you in.
You're chasing total perfection, the ultimate time there, aren't you? Yeah.
I mean, I always go into it thinking, right, let's try and set records. If you try and set records, then you're going to be somewhere close.
Well, yeah. I mean, it certainly it looks interesting. I'll say that. I mean, I was wondering, because there's not the usual added costs of engines and stuff associated with like motorsport and things like that. How cost effective is it for, let's say, I'm just asking for a friend, but for a total rookie to get into and start from scratch, knowing nothing, let's say, apart from what they've seen on a few YouTube videos, how easy would it be, and how cost effective would it be?
It is so easy to get. This is the brilliant thing about it. It's so easy to get into it. I mean, it is. If you want to put it, down to it's a bike rolling down a hill. I mean, you can't just necessarily take your mountain bike, take the pedals off, take the chain off, and away you go. There's your gravity bike. It's a bit more than that. But in a sense, I suppose that's kind of what it is. I mean, you can get a bike frame fairly cheap now. Maybe, you can even get them free out of Skips if you really want to go down that route.
That's a hearty endorsement there.
But I mean, I spend a little bit more on it, purely because I like things to be a bit more professional and be a bit more sort of sophisticated and well done.
But at an entry level, though, as you say, you can just pick one up for literally just a few quid, or not. But
you can just obviously you can't go into a shop and just ask for a gravity bike. So there's the engineering element with it as well. It's a project. You've got to make your own bike. And you can the rules allow for creativity. I mean, there's a certain limit. You can't obviously do anything that's ridiculously.
I mean, what could you change? I mean, how could you possibly cheat on a gravity bike, for example? I mean, it's just you grease the wheels and take the pedals off, and then it's just gravity, isn't it? How do you cheat at that?
It's more the safety sort of thing. So if there's anything sharp or dangerous on it, and with the British gravity bikes as well, it's not quite stock. You can have sort of like number plates on and things like that, but it's not full fairing. There's not or 3/4 fairing or anything like that. So there's no fairing. So if you've got anything that is a fairing, then you've got to take it off. Which I suppose adds another bit of element to it. I mean, obviously you've got to look at the aerodynamics as well, and if you can make whatever you can do within sort of the fine lines of the rules that allow you to be aerodynamic, then go for it. But if there's anything that replicates a fairing or anything like that, then it starts to get a bit more. But I mean, there's not. We talk about cheating within it. There's none really. There isn't any. Because everyone, respects the rules and respects everyone else as well, and they respect that, everyone else has followed the rules, and so that they're not going to be, ridiculous about it. There used to be the 3/4 fairing class, and I think there's a bike on this video here where you can see it's got a sort of fairing on the front. But since it's been revamped, that's kind of been sort of done away with a little bit. It will come back once things sort of get going again. But for now, it's more the stock with a number plate or sort of kneeler boards or things like that.
For someone like me, Zach, the thought of thundering down a hill and possibly, if I make a mistake, ending up in a tree, or a bush, let's say, would be probably enough to make me say, actually, I probably wouldn't give that a go, to be honest. But there is a side of me that thinks, this someone like me could do this. I could hurtle down a hill with no pedals, and so I do like it. I think I'm quickly warming to the idea of coasting down a hill rapidly.
I mean, the good thing about the British Gravity Bike Championships as well is that it's open to anyone. So it doesn't matter what skill base you've got. If you could be a complete rookie and you can be racing against the best in the country.
If I did,
you won't get that at BSB level.
Yeah, I mean, I do genuinely have no skill at all. It would be a skill for me to stay on a bike, just a stationary bike, to be honest. I mean, stuff like this. How long has it been going, though? Forgive my ignorance, but I mean, how is it? It's been going many years.
It has been going for quite a few, actually. Yeah, I mean, I can't on it, but I mean, gravity racing itself's been around for God knows how long. But I mean, it's obviously kind of started off with the soapboxes. The soapboxes were the origins of gravity racing, where sort of the kids in America would, take old used literal soapboxes, boxes where they put soap in and stick wheels on it and race down hills. And it became, I'm sure many people have seen the episode of Speed with Guy Martin, where he did the gravity racer world record, and he sort of touched on the origins of it. And obviously from the soapboxes came sort of, I imagine people thought, we could sort of make a bike of this, we can do soapbox and we can use skateboards and things like that. So it all sort of, it rolled on from the soapboxes, really. So I suppose if you want to look at the origins of gravity racing itself, you got to look at the soapboxes. But I mean, gravity bikes, maybe around, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 years, I'd say, again.
Wow.
So they've been around for a while. It's just it's the same with anything, really. It just takes a while for everyone to sort of become aware of it and then get into it, and then it takes a while for it to sort of get to a certain level, I suppose. And that's what's nice about it, I suppose, is that you're part of the origins, if that makes sense. You're part of where it gets to in the future.
Yeah. And well, it certainly does sound very accessible anyway, and it'll be very interesting to see its momentum, the British Gravity Bike Championship, over the next few years and such, and who knows how big something like that could be, knowing already what we know, for example, like the Red Bull Soapbox race, which goes around the world. It's a massive event. Yes, it's by Red Bull. They've got money anyway. But the event itself, flying down a hill, is popular. That concept. And like you say, 4 wheels, yeah, but you could do it on 2 wheels as well. Why not? As you've proven.
The thing with the Red Bull thing, obviously, is it touches on the novelty side as well, which I think people sort of engage with a bit more, because you don't have to necessarily be into racing to get inside with a novelty sort of thing. So you can have a big sort of F1 sort of polystyrene car rolling down a hill, and
but it's
you don't have to be into F1 to like it. It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, the building
I mean, obviously with the serious things, you don't necessarily have to jumps or things like that. It's more proper racing, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's what I think people get confused with sometimes.
And sorry to diminish the gravity bike race.
I didn't want anyone to sort of come to one of our racing experts. Oh, hey, look at him, wait for the jump, and then they get there like, where's the jump?
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't want to give it a go on a jump. It'd bloody hurt.
Well, I hear it does, but yeah. I also hear that you are, or may be interested in taking part in, maybe for the future, 2019 potentially, some pit bike racing.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been wanting to race motorbikes since I started racing, but I mean, we all know the cost of motorsport itself is just absurd. It's ridiculous. So for me to be able to get into it has been quite difficult. But now the opportunities are starting to come where it looks like I could race in some form of motorsport. So pit bike racing seems to be the most accessible one for me at the moment, and not only is it the most accessible one for me, it'll give me some good experience as well, racing motorbikes. So, I mean, I've ridden motorbikes since I was a kid. But for motorbike racing, it's obviously a completely different thing. I've got some racing experience, and obviously racing head-to-head and maybe the qualifying, I suppose, inside of things when you get to motorsport. But it'll give me some good experience and some momentum into hopefully getting into what I hope will be a really long and successful career in motorcycle racing. Yeah,
certainly. And I mean, I've been following the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship for the past couple of seasons, and one of the events in that championship that I always look forward to are the pit bike races, the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team categories. So maybe, Zach, when you're the reigning main class British Gravity champion of 2018, you can maybe pop over and say hello to some of the guys in the Cool Fab paddock as well, which is, as if you didn't already know, is the official feeder series to the BSB. So,
yeah, I mean, I've definitely been looking at obviously that series into racing and the British mini bikes as well. So I'm definitely planning on coming to a few rounds of each this year and just sort of put my toe in the water and get myself known and say hello to a few of the guys and hopefully come 2019 I'll be racing alongside them. You never know.
It does sound as I've said that you have a pretty bright future ahead of you, Zach. It certainly does, and I'll be interested to maybe catch up with you throughout the year, and you can tell us how you've been getting on in the main class in the British Gravity Bike Racing Championship. For those who want to know more information, how to get into it and to maybe follow your career and progression, though, how can people get in touch with you and follow the championship as well?
So with me personally, I've got my racing page on Facebook, which is just Zack Leader Racing. So if you type that into Facebook, you'll obviously be able to find me on there. I'm on Twitter as well and Instagram. Both are ZLeader at ZLeader77. So you can follow me on both there, and that's a good way to get in touch with me as well. I've got my website as well, which is zackleader.com. So just as simple as that. Leader. So that's a good sort of place to look, and obviously there's various ways that there's my email on there as well if you want to email me, and there's links on there to the British Gravity Bike Championship website as well, which is britishgravitybike.co.nr. so it's a fancy domain name there. But if you want to look on Facebook as well, there's the British Gravity Bike Championship Facebook page, and you can get in contact with anyone on there. Always happy to help them, to talk to anyone about it and share any advice or information or anything on there. I'd like to think I've built a good bit of knowledge on gravity bike racing now, and I'd like to think I know what I'm doing. So,
well, I already consider you my go-to guy for gravity bike racing. I mean, you've already taught me a lot during this interview, because I really didn't know much at all about it. So yeah, thank you for that amount of knowledge anyway. And also as well, I noticed on your Facebook post as well that you are also extending the offer of maybe having a quiet word with any LGBT people who are in motorsport or who are racing as well, for offering words of support and advice and maybe guidance as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. I mean, whether that be in sort of an interview situation or a private message or a private conversation or anything like that, because, I mean, I think it's important to have someone to talk to about it. I mean, not that I didn't necessarily have anyone to talk about it, but I mean, I suppose it's nice because, like I say, I may well be the first to sort of talk about how, like, the experiences that have come with it, and sort of how to go about it and things like that. So, I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about it, regardless of, what championship it is or what class it is or what form of racing, or even if it's not racing, even if it's just anything, just general LGBT stuff. But I'm happy to talk to anybody about it, and obviously, I think, talking about it never does any harm. So, yeah, more than happy to talk to anybody about it, and any issue regarding it, then even if it's not necessarily a positive one.
It'll be, like I say, it'll be fascinating to see the overall reaction as you make your way up through the motorsport ranks in motorcycle racing, maybe into some pit bikes, like you say, for maybe next year, talking about next year already, as you head towards BSB and maybe joining James Ellison on the grid sometime. Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be pretty incredible, to be fair. That's a childhood dream, that one.
Yeah. But for now, though, Zack, thank you very much for coming on Motorsport Radio, for telling us about your what you're going to be up to this year, and also for coming out as an LGBT racer, of which I don't think, as you've said, there is anybody else who has done so, especially in bike racing anyway. Of course, there are people, but yes, thank you for doing that at least, and thank you for coming on Motorsport Radio. I wish you all the very best of luck in 2018.
Thank you very much. I feel like while I'm on here, I probably ought to say thank you to my sponsors, especially for this year coming as well. So obviously I've got James Ellison on board. I've got Sparta Motorcycle Clothing, who are fantastic. If you need any bike gear, then just go to them. Express Coffee, best coffee in the world, bar none. Rich Energy, best energy drink in the world, bar none. Also got Savage Squirrel, who do amazing teamwear, so if you need any clothing or anything, just go straight to Savage Squirrel. I've got James Rispoli as well. James is massive support, obviously races in British stock, or has raced in British Stock 1000, will be racing in Supersport this year with Everquick Racing. So yeah, Team 69 as well, which is obviously James Wilson's cleaning sort of products brand, and I've tried them, they're brilliant. Better than any of the other ones I've tried, so definitely give them a go. West Sliders do obviously knee sliders. They're from Australia. brilliant guys there. JP Photographic and Nicholas Ledley Media, two of my best friends. If you need any video or photography work done, go to them guys. And 151's compression base layers as well. They're don't go with anyone else. Go with 151s. They're brilliant.
Well, if you race and promote like you do on this interview, Zach, I think you'll be all right. To be honest, in the future, I think your future will be pretty okay. But once again, thank you very much for coming on and introducing us all, or at least me anyway, to the British Gravity Bike Championship. I will definitely follow that this year.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, I'll be on here maybe at the end of next year with a big championship trophy in my hand.
Motorsport Radio.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray from the Kawasaki racing team.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton.
Hi, I'm Jamie Chadwick.
Hey everyone, I'm Bradley Smith.
Hi, I'm Julian Zacco.
Hi, I'm Bradley Wright.
Hi, I'm Seb Morris.
Hi, I'm Dan Lingford from Honda Racing, British Superbike team, and this is Motorsport Radio.